Alright, what is up, guys? Brian here, and this is my GFW Impact Wrestling review for last night's episode of Impact Wrestling for GFW. So let's get right into it. Not a bad show. I thought it was actually pretty good. It wasn't nothing great, but it was actually a pretty good show. A couple of good matches. So let's get right into the review. We started off with a six-man tag involving the Impact Grand Champion Moose. He teamed up with Eddie Edwards and Maru Fuji. They took on the team of EC3, Eli Drake, and Chris Adonis. This was actually a pretty good six-man tag. There were a couple of feuds in this one. We had Moose and EC3, who are currently in a feud. EC3 looking for that to win that Impact Grand Championship. Of course, Maru Fuji, he wanted a piece of EC3 because of what EC3 did to him in his title match against Moose, or his opportunity at that Impact Grand Championship against Moose. I believe it was last week or the week before. And of course, he had Chris Adonis and Eli Drake in there as well. Eli Drake pinned Eddie Edwards in that Fatal 4-Way. I believe it was last week or the week before as well. So there were a couple of feuds in this matchup. The winning team was EC3, Eli Drake, and Chris Adonis. When EC3 pinned Moose after hitting him with a low blow, after trying to hit him with the championship belt, and then would hit him with a new move that he calls the ECD, the Ethan Carter Driver. So a big victory for EC3 in that six-man tag, which resulted in next week EC3 gets his opportunity at the Impact Grand Championship against Moose. So that is a huge title match coming up next week. We had Lashley in an in-ring segment, basically talking what he's been talking about the last few weeks. He wants a title shot at the world title, and he called out Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard would come out with Tyrus, his bodyguard. Bruce Pritchard would make it known that he thought that everybody that he had been over this with Lashley, that he's getting tired of people demanding stuff, demanding title opportunities. Matt Sydal would come out and interrupt. Of course, Matt Sydal was left laying last week by Lashley. He would get in Lashley's face this week, basically saying he's not gonna be ignored. Lashley would shove him out of the way, would then try to go to hit the spear. This time, Matt Sydal knew what was coming, hit the knee, and then would jump up on the top rope and hit that shooting star press. Obviously sending a message to not only Lashley, but to everybody that he is not going to be ignored. So this was actually a pretty good segment, in my opinion. It kind of sets up a feud or a match between Lashley and Sydal, which would be totally different, something new and fresh as far as matchups are concerned. So, but it will be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks, especially with Destination X coming up in, I believe they said 3 or 4 weeks. We had the final first round match of the Super X Cup tournament. It was Davey Richards taking on Ishimori. This was actually a pretty good matchup as well. And from watching it, a lot of back and forth. Davey Richards, Ishimori both wanting to advance in the Super X Cup tournament. But it was Ishimori with the 450 splash on Davey Richards. that finally put Richards away. So a big victory for Ishimori, and as he advances in the Super X Cup tournament, he'll be taking on ACH in the semifinals, I believe it is. So the semifinals are set. ACH will take on Ishimori, and Desmond Xavier will take on Drago in the semifinals. So those are set. A little bit of news about Davey Richards. Apparently, that was his that was his last appearance on GFW Impact Wrestling, as he announced that him and GFW came to terms on him him leaving the company to explore other options or other things. So yeah, Davey Richards no longer with GFW. That was not the only people that Davey Richards was not the only guy that announced that he was done with GFW. Matt Morgan announced he was done. So did Magnus. Pretty much those were the three big names this over the last couple weeks or last week or so that announced that they were done with GFW. But moving on, we had the last Knockouts standing match for the GFW Knockouts Championship. It was Sienna defending against Rosemary. Of course, this was the rematch from Slammiversary that these two had. This was actually a pretty physical encounter. The ending I really didn't care for that much. I mean, this match, these two fought all over. They fought in the crowd. They fought in the ring. There was weapons. There was like tables, chairs, trash cans brought into play. The ending, however, saw Rosemary had Sienna set up, was going to hit some kind of move from the top rope on Sienna, but then KM, Sienna's cousin, he got involved. He would get on the apron and basically distract Rosemary. Rosemary would wind up spraying mist into KM's face. This gave enough time for Sienna to recover and throw the trash can at Rosemary, knocking her off the top rope and sending her crashing through a table that was set up outside the ring. And that was pretty much enough for Sienna to keep Rosemary down for the 10 count, and thus retained her GFW Knockouts Championship. So congratulations go out to Sienna, but also, but both of them really brought their A game into this matchup. However, the ending, like I said, with KM getting involved, had it been a straight up match with no outside interference, it would have been a lot better. But they still delivered a good solid matchup. Let's see, we had Trevor Lee taking on Octagon Cito. There was really nothing much about this matchup. I mean, Octagon Cito won via countout. Trevor Lee still in possession of the X Division title that is currently held, or currently the champion is currently Sanjay Dutt. But he wore that. Trevor Lee, of course, a couple weeks ago stole the title from Sanjay, and he's been wearing it since. Sanjay Dutt's been trying to get it back. He tried to get it back this week, but because he's been banned from the building, he came out, but then Bruce Pritchard had referees, security take Sanjay Dutt out of the building. Obviously, this is going to lead to something. This is going to lead to a match for that X Division title. That's pretty much what these matches with Trevor Lee and stuff like that have been building up to. So obviously, it's going to be built up to a match between those two, Sanjay and Trevor Lee, for that X Division title. We had the continuation of the whole Grotto needing to get married to a knockout to stay in the country storyline. Of course, last week he and Laurel Van Ness went out on a date. This week, Joseph Park basically told Grotto this week is this night is the night for you to propose to Laurel Van Ness, and that's what he did. He proposed to her in the ring, but before she could even answer, Congo Kong would come out and interrupt once again and chase Grotto away. I don't know where they're going with this storyline. They've had Laurel Van Ness. She's been wearing the dress that she wore when her and Braxton Sutter almost was gonna get married on Impact that one night. But I mean, I don't know where they're going with this storyline. Grotto's trying to stay in the country, and he needs to marry a knockout and stuff like that. Who knows where this storyline is heading? They did kind of they had Allie out there like a cheerleader to cheer on for her to say yes, or for Laurel to say yes. Braxton Sutter would come down and say, let's go. Come back to let's go to Allie. What's she doing out here and all this stuff. So, but this whole storyline, I don't know where they're going with that. But moving on to the main event, it was the gauntlet match. It was Alberto El Patron, the unified GFW heavyweight champion, taking on all three members of LAX, Homicide, Ortiz, and Santana. Of course, given the history between LAX and Alberto El Patron over the last couple of weeks, LAX attacking Alberto's family, his father, his brother, trying to get him to join LAX. This was pretty much, it was really, this matchup, this gauntlet match, it was pretty quick. Alberto beat all three members. He beat Homicide first in quick fashion. He then went on to beat Ortiz, and then he had Santana beat, but then the other members got involved and caused a disqualification. And then they would proceed to beat him down. Alberto's brother, El Hijo de Dos Caras, he would come out to try to help out his brother. Alberto's father, Dos Caras, would come down to try to help out. The Veterans of War, Mayweather, and what is the other guy's name? Drax. Basically, the Veterans of War, the VOW, they would come out to, they helped out Alberto. Basically, it was led to a huge brawl that saw the faces standing tall. Alberto, Veterans of War, his father, Dos Caras, as well as his brother. And you see LAX running away, leaving. So, what's going to happen next week with that whole thing? My thoughts, though, on Impact, I thought it was a pretty good show. It wasn't a great show, but I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, there was a couple good matches. The Knockouts title match I thought was actually pretty good. Didn't like the ending of it, though. And as well as the Richards and Ishimori match, I thought was pretty good. So if you guys watched last night's episode of Impact, let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments below. And what do you guys think is going to happen next week with Moose and EC3? So with that being said, this has been my recap of what took place on last night's Impact Wrestling broadcast. As always, I am Brian, and thank you for watching.